And good afternoon, everyone, or good morning if you're on the West Coast. My name is Zach Allison with ATS. I'm our National Accounts Manager here, helping engineers and architects all across the country and even across the US uh, make their product selections, understand product better, and try to get specs together for their projects. If this is your first ATS University, thank you for joining us. ATS University is essentially a training session that we've been putting on near weekly for the last couple of years. But over the last, I guess, month or so, we've slowed down for some of the vacation season there, as a lot of engineers, architects, and even some of the presenters were dealing with vacations and covering other people's time off. But we're diving in for the back half of the year here. So if you need help getting your CU hours together, or any other accreditation services. Certainly, we always have a certificate of attendance sent out to all the attendees. We do a variety of topics. Some of them, like today, are going to be a nitty-gritty deep dive into products that fit kind of niche applications in the industry. We also do some of the more generic accredited presentations. So if you need full AIA CEUs, we do have presentations that kind of tick that box as well. And then we also like to do some application deep dives where we really focus on, say, a specific application like a multifamily residential project that really some of the products we're talking about today would fit into some of those applications. But we do more of a generic overview of all the different sets of products that are available on the ATS SpecTool and available to help with your projects. If you are unfamiliar with ATS, we are essentially a product selection tool. We amalgamate a number of different manufacturers across the industry into a one-stop shop that allows you not just to find a product, but to actually configure it and get the correct spec, model number. We provide the Revit files, schedules, written specs, any other format that comes to mind. We've got about 10, 11 different formats. And, I was in a meeting just this morning about two of the new ones that we're working on developing, all based on user feedback. So if there's other formats that you need, certainly let us know and we'll be working on adding those to the system. And all of that is free for architects, engineers, and designers in the industry because it's paid for by our wonderful sponsors and the manufacturers that are on our system. With us today is Angelo from the God's Will Be Done, representing some of the fine products at Stern Williams, Fiat, and Pryor, who have been working on getting a lot of new products out to the industry. And I guess without any further ado, I'll kind of pass it over to you, Angelo, and you dive in so that we have lots of time to answer any questions that come up along the way.
Wonderful. Thank you, Zach, and ATS for the opportunity. And thank you for all the participants that are joining us today. My name is Angelo Balistreri. I'm the Marketing and Sales Operations Manager here at GWBD. This is the parent company over our three manufacturers that we operate. We are covering Pryor products, Stern Williams, and Fiat. Those are names that are probably a little bit more well-known than the GWBD. But essentially, we wanted to just kind of highlight, what these three companies do. And as Zach said, today we wanted to spend a little time just kind of going over some newer products for us, something that's been launched probably within the last year or so. This is a very high-level presentation. Obviously, there's a lot of things to cover here in a very short amount of time. And we're always open to having further conversations should you need it. ATS has been a great service for us, and we most definitely are thrilled to be a part of that. And a lot of those resources can be found through ATS, and you're always welcome to reach out to us directly as well. If you are planning to attend ASPE, which is next month, the tail end there of October. I think it's the 18th through the 23rd, if I remember correctly off the top of my head. We will be presenting all three of these brands will be on display there at ASPE. Please come by and see us. We're going to be at booth 1215. We can help you maybe determine what is needed for you. And we're always actually open more so to what are your demands? What are your needs? What do you need as you're specifying and designing projects? We are a domestic manufacturing base. We pride ourselves in making sure we stay domestic. Each one of these brands is going to be here in the U.S., as we'll highlight here in a minute. But for us, we love to be able to listen and understand what the needs are in the market today. And a lot of that starts at your level, at the engineering side and the architectural side, where you're trying to carve out certain things. And honestly, there's times where the product doesn't even exist for what you're looking for today. That's the stuff we want to know about. That's where we want to lean in, and that's where we can really add some value. The overview of GWBD again is just the parent company. We do kind of go through a couple different pieces, but I'll highlight very quickly the three companies in itself. The first and foremost is Prior. Prior was our initial company. We were pretty much established in 1881. Our current owners have taken ownership since the early 1990s. But essentially, we manufacture hose-threaded valves. So anything you're connecting a hose to on the side of a building or on a yard hydrant or anything like that, we manufacture that in Kansas City, Missouri. That's where we're headquartered and based out of. We have a very long history. We pride ourselves in the products that we make and our serviceability side. So, one of the things that I think really astonishes a lot of people is we can rebuild just about any product in the field that has the Prior name on it back to the 1940s. And there are products out there that actually are still in service today that have lasted that long, and essentially just the wearable components within are what needs to be replaced. Depending on the application, there could be times where you can't exactly replace the valve. You do need to service the valve. Prior prides itself in being able to do that. So Prior is the base company that started everything, and the owners of Prior are the ones that expanded to a couple additional things, which includes Stern-Williams. So GWB was formed in 2021, which allowed us to start to pivot to look at other opportunities. Our owners are very, very invested in making sure we keep domestic manufacturing alive and running. Stern-Williams was an opportunity that presented itself in 2021. They're out of southern Missouri. It's actually called Carterville, Missouri, just out of that southern piece of the Ozarks of where we're located. And Stern-Williams manufactures terrazzo mop sinks and shower floors. They also get into outdoor drinking fountains and shower towers. These are some of the things that they specialize in down there. You can see our team. That is actually the full team at Stern-Williams. So it's a little smaller group of people, but they pride themselves in pounding out that terrazzo through and through. We'll touch base on a little bit of that as we go. Two of the newer products that we're going to talk about are there at the bottom. You'll see a little solar piece, and you'll see a stainless steel mop sink. We're going to lean in a little bit on those throughout this presentation, but we wanted to let you know that there's more than what we're going to talk about today. Obviously, we're just going to have a high level kind of discussing some of the newer products that are offered from Stern-Williams today, but there's so much more. And many of you on the engineering and the architectural side, you're probably more versed with us on the terrazzo. I mean, we are utilized a lot on that side. That's a concrete with marble and granite chips that are just built and very, very durable. And they're utilized all across in so many different applications throughout what we do in the industry. And then a newer acquisition for us took place in 2022. We bought Fiat products from American Standard Lixil in 2022. They had kind of decided that wasn't a realm that they wanted to be in. And we looked at the offering, and a lot of it was very similar to what we were kind of doing on the Stern-Williams side that we had done just the year prior. They also manufacture terrazzo, and they dabble into what's called a molded stone, an SMC. This is a fiberglass kind of material with a calcium composite that's heat pressed to make a very hard, compact product that gives you a lighter weight, but just about as durable as a terrazzo. Terrazzo is going to be your most durable application. but the molded stone is a very durable product as well. And it gave us a little bit more flexibility when we started looking at mop basins and shower floors. And then it opened up a whole nother realm of laundry tubs. Now, the laundry tubs are probably a little bit more on the residential side. You may not see too much of that on the engineering specification side, but it did give us another avenue for some additional products as well. But Fiat is a great ad for us, and these three companies have kind of given us a little bit of a nice overlapping presence of what we can offer to the industry, and all of these are domestic. Fiat as well is in Kentucky. They're manufacturing there. And we're not stopping there. We're continuing to look for new opportunities, new manufacturers as we move forward. In today's presentation, we're going to highlight a couple different products from each one of these manufacturers. You can kind of see a little bit of the agenda here. We're going to do a very light overview of each one of these products to give you a little bit. We will kind of have a small pause at each end of each manufacturer's offering to address maybe any questions. If you have anything that comes up as we're talking here, please go ahead and type that into the chat or the Q&A. Zach's going to monitor that for us. We'll address that before we jump into the next manufacturer. And then, of course, at the very end, we can address any questions that maybe got developed over the presentation. So let's go ahead and jump in. The first and foremost, we want to talk about a newer product that we just launched a little less than a year ago by Fiat, and that is called our Pooch and Boots Scrub Tub. This gives us a little bit of a different offering that's taking a couple different assemblies and manufactured products from some of our companies, and we compile it into an all-in-one product that gives a little flexibility where it can be utilized in some of the things that you're doing on the multifamily residential side, and gives us a little bit of an opportunity there. So with the Pooch and Boots Scrub Tub, we're going to talk a little bit of what's available today. We're going to talk about what we're offering now and some of the features and benefits that come from this new offering that you'll see. So as we've kind of dove into this and we do a little market research and we look at some stuff, one of the things that continue to pop up, and we see some engineers that are actually starting to specify some of this on some projects that come through, but there's not a specific product a lot of the time that says this. And what we're seeing on some of the specs that come out, it just says pet wash station, or it just says dog wash station. But there's nothing that goes along with that. And we wanted to kind of lean into that. And we looked at what was being offered throughout the market. And it's kind of a hodgepodge of either a giant clunky kind of thing. You can see here there's a giant stainless steel apparatus that probably costs a couple grand, and it's kind of bulky, probably not ideal for residential. Depending on your space constraint, probably not great for some multifamily either. The other side of that is custom. You get into the custom side, don't get me wrong, custom's beautiful. You can kind of see a nice little image here. This looks great. The builder probably had several different trades involved. You're going to have a framer, you're going to have a plumber, you're going to have a tile guy, and all of that is just extra time and labor. And then it's also, all right, what kind of tile you want? What kind of faucets do you want? What are we going to do for the drain? Okay, how you want this set up? I mean, it just left a lot of things open for, all right, we got to figure out a lot. And I know it's probably easy on the engineering side to say, hey, you're going to put a pet wash station in here, but it leaves a lot of, all right, well, what do you want? It's like, there's so many variables here that we could go down so many different options, and it makes it a little bit difficult to try and figure out what's the end user really want. So we wanted to simplify this, and that's the piece that we really wanted to aim for. Is I know you're asking in some specs that you want this, but for a builder or a plumber, there's a lot of questions that get opened of, well, what's that really entail? I mean, what are you wanting? We wanted to simplify. We wanted to solve that. And in doing so, we have launched the Pooch and Boots. The Pooch and Boots is an all-encompassing product line that gives you everything you need for a pet washing station, and it comes in one box. So the plumber loves it because everything he needs shows up in one box. and they are good to go to get this installed. So this pet wash, and we call it also a little bit of a utility. We don't want to pigeonhole it. This is not necessarily just for pets. If you want to rinse off your muddy boots, you got gardening equipment, you got maybe you're a hunter or a fisher or something along those lines. It gives you a little bit additional flexibility with that utility side of this as well. But essentially, this product is going to be offered in two different sizes from Fiat products. You can buy it with a 36-24, so it's 36 inches long by 24. This is going to be able to accommodate probably any middle, medium-sized dog to lower. And then you got your 24 by 24, and that's going to be more of the smaller sized dogs. Again, depending on the application and the particular job and need will be determining what the size of it is. My personal opinion, I would always gravitate more to the 36-24. Most of the time, I think many of us have ever, I don't think any of us have ever gone back and say, I wish it was smaller. I think it's always the other way, right? I wish it was bigger. So I would probably always err on the larger side if you're trying to question what we want to go with here. But all the components come, again, all in one package. So we're going to give you a mop basin. So we're utilizing what Fiat is already manufacturing on our SMC sheet mold compound. That is the MSB 3624 or the MSB 2424, depending on the sizes. These are products that many of you already know. These are being specified through and throughout the industry as we see more and more jobs come through for these type of mop basins. So these are products that are already being utilized everywhere, and they've been utilized for many, many decades. So they have a very strong reputation out there. We're going to throw in the prior hot and cold valve. That's a C108. You can kind of see it on the wall there. Of course, we want our pets to have tempered water, right? So we don't want to just cold water wash. So we want to pamper these pets, and gives you that. But also, again, going back to that utility side, hot water cleans better on certain applications. So maybe if you have a grease grate or something from your grill that you wanted to hit inside of this, you could do so. Hot water is going to clean that much better. So you get a hot and cold valve with the product. You're going to get a stainless steel hose that connects to your sprayer, as you can see in the image here. We give you a leash hook. We don't want Fido running off. I don't know how many of these animals are, but my animals specifically not a big fan of the shower, so we don't want them running off. So you can actually tether them to the wall and get a nice support system. We're giving you our stainless steel wall guards. These are, again, something offered through the Fiat brand that we're utilizing on a daily basis, and most specifications already call for them. This is going to protect your interior wall. If you maybe have a dry wall application, we want to protect that. We don't want water and soap getting all over that. So the stainless steel wall guards give you a little extra protection around that. And then we're including a stainless steel lint basket. In the image that you see here, you can see the strainer, which does come included, as well as a gasket. So the gasket and strainer are also included. I don't think those were highlighted there, but if you are ordering an MSB, those are standard products. But inside, once you pop that stainless steel strainer off, there's a lint basket that actually allows you to pull it out, clean out any fur or any hair that may have built up from there. So, again, kind of gravitating to the larger side, I would always probably recommend the 3624 because that's going to accommodate most animals, most pets, or most projects or cleaning opportunities that you're looking for. Now, of course, Great Danes, the German Shepherds, Great Pyrenees, you may only get half the body in at a time. We haven't gotten to that point yet. There most definitely are always talks about, should we start looking at integrating some of our shower floors? And this is our first initial launch here. We wanted to see how this went, and we're providing this. Again, this was to simplify what is being utilized for a pet wash station in multifamily residential applications, and we can expand from here. We're always open for ideas. If you ever have an idea, say, yeah, it'd be really good if you did this. I'd love it if you had this. Always open to hear that. Always looking to make things better. But this is our first initial launch of these products, and we're kind of looking to see how it goes before we look at the next level. Now, the little sprayer, our garden hose sprayer, as you can see kind of on the hook here, has a multi-dial faucet on top. So actually you can adjust it. So if you want to mist, you want to spray, probably not recommended for a jet, but that jet setting's on there as well. And the dial on top allows you to adjust the flow of the soap that is utilized inside. So if you're rinsing the dog down, you dial that all the way down to 0. I don't want any soap right now. I'm rinsing the dog off, or I'm pre-soaking the dog. And then when I'm ready to apply the soap, you gradually open up that dial to your predetermined setting, and the soap mixture actually blends with the water as it comes out of the faucet, allowing you to spray the dog and apply the soap, and then you dial it back down to 0 to rinse them off. The hot and cold gives you that tempered water, and our design actually has a swivel nut on it that allows the product to move freely, so you'll never need to worry about it getting tangled. We give you 5 foot of the stainless steel, and again, we talked about the wall guard, we talked about the lint basket, but again, the main focus for us on this was put it all into one package, so you get everything together. And this makes it a lot easier for the plumber and for the installer to simplify what they're trying to accomplish and to build and meet the need of your particular project. Of course, you know, we have all the literature that you're going to need, again, through the ATS spec writing tool. I know you're going to have a lot of that information at your fingertips. But again, our websites are going to have most of these spec sheets, IOMs. We offer sales flyers should you need them. If you're trying to share it with somebody, if you say, hey guys, would you be interested in this? If you're talking to the end user and they're trying to figure out what they want, kick them that sales flyer. You can pull it right off of our website, guys. Hey, we have this as an option. Does this look what you're looking for? You can see our compliance certification for the products are noted on our spec sheets. The pricing down below, this is our advertised list price. This is probably not always what people are going to pay. Typically, you may see a little bit south of these price ranges. Now, the other piece you'll see at the bottom there, there's 2 different price points. One of them is for everything we talked about. The one on the bottom, which is an NV, this is no valve. We do understand that sometimes your end user may want a specific kind of thermostatic mixing. They want a shower application. That's perfectly fine. What we offer is we can give you everything else, and then we just take the valve away. So as you can see, there's a reduction in the cost there when we remove that valve on the list price. And just, again, gives a little bit more flexibility. Maybe the end user wanted to use a specific type of Moen or American Standard product or something along those lines. We give that flexibility when it gets to that.
Yeah, I think that's one of the big options, I think, of having the no valve option, because you know the sink bait or basin with the panels and of course the lint basket, I think those are big features, you know, especially the lint basket for the ease of cleaning it down. But you're right, some people may prefer like the single, like a single lever touch on a shower valve would be a great option. You could put a nice little handheld shower on the wall. I know we talked about it when you were kind of launching this, the idea of having a grab bar instead of the hook. You know, those are all options that everyone has and can put together. And of course, you can add those components in as you need.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, keep in mind, this is our first initial attempt at this. There can be adaptions and there can be additional offerings as we kind of move along here. But for us, we wanted to see, is this something that people want to utilize? And we've had a good run so far. Again, you know, launching a new product, you got to promote it, you got to get it out there, you got to get it established. So we're gathering feedback, we're getting input, and again, our goal at GWBD is just to be better. And that's a progression, right? It's not always right out of the gate we hit that home run. Maybe it's a single, maybe it's a double, maybe it's a triple. You know, but for us, it just, let's continue just to work to get better. And a lot of that comes from the engineering and the architectural side, where we value that feedback. You know, we want that feedback to continue to just be better. So I'll pause just for a second. Is there any questions pertaining to the pet wash station that we've talked about so far?
Yeah, I'll be sure to bring them up if they come in. I know I'll comment. One thing I really appreciated when this launch is, like you said, it's not really a reinvention of the wheel. These are known components that work in the industry. People were putting this together already anyways.
Yep.
So the idea that now you're not gonna, miss a valve, miss a hook, forget the link basket, having those all included, one-stop shop makes it simple, makes it easy. Always appreciated.
And you're absolutely right, Zach. I mean, that was the key thing. It's not like we did anything extra. We just wanted to make it simple. That's the key focus out of this is simplicity. I mean, and putting it all together to your point. You don't need to, did I get that? Oh, hey, run back to the wholesale and get this. And then let's face it, sometimes having to piece all these things individually, cost goes up. So this was able to bring everything into one package.
I see one question coming up here in terms of like cross connections, for public projects, which these are going into. The idea, I guess, first question is there like a vacuum breaker included in the hose assembly or on the connection part there? And then is there any other regional codes that may apply for backflow prevention? I can touch on that if you need.
Yeah, yes. So just so you know, the C108, so your valve, that's where our code compliance and our backflow checks are going to take place. So it is a 1019, so it's a frost-proof design. But per the ASSE 1019 code approvals, we do need to have backflow checks involved with that to meet that standard. So each individual stem behind those handles that are operating, there are two backflow boots that are on the stem assemblies themselves. So that's our first check. So no water can actually make it back into the potable water system. And then the secondary check is actually there's an atmospheric vent vacuum breaker on the hose piece itself. So there's little individual holes that are right there around that swivel nut that we were talking about. During flow, there's a silicone washer that actually during that flow, it smashes up against those holes. If there ever is a backflow condition, what it does, it actually pulls that silicone off of those vent holes and it breaks that vacuum and no water can make it past that hose point. So it's actually got kind of a double check in a way. It's got an atmospheric vent and a backflow boot.
Fantastic. And I know some of the municipalities may be coming up with, different regulations as these continue to become more popular. So if there is additional municipal level regulations, you could always put in, say your region's calling for an RP device, you could put one at your point of entry, you could point one as a zone isolation and really look at a backflow prevention program as a whole. But
Absolutely.
the device itself coming with all the kind of point of use checks that you would need, right?
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, I don't see any other questions coming in, so that was a
Right,
great
and
question.
again,
I'll appreciate that.
and I understand that questions may come up as we go through this. Again,
Certainly.
we're always happy to jump back if we need to, but let's move forward because we do have more to cover. We're going to jump onto the Stern-Williams side. So Stern-Williams, again, manufacturing terrazzo bases as well as the outdoor drinking fountains and shower towers. And that's where our first product's going to lean in more is on the drinking fountains and the shower towers. One of the things that we were kind of toying with and looking at is, how do we add value? What's the next level here? And one of the options that we played with was looking at a solar add-on. Now, before we get into it, let's talk a little bit about what Stern-Williams does. Again, Stern-Williams prides ourselves in handmade custom products. Every single one of our drinking fountains and shower towers is handmade in Southern Missouri. It starts with a single pipe and they're cutting it and they're welding it and they're putting all the arms and the pieces on it and they're grinding it down. One of the things that we actually pride ourselves in is we want, when you look at one of our products, you shouldn't see where one thing starts and the other one ends. We want it to be flawless. We want it to look, and that's really where we pride ourselves is we grind those welds down so it looks like it's all one piece, and it's been that way. That's really where we know we've succeeded is when we get to that kind of a level. We're utilizing a heavy-duty cast iron steel We do have the option, we'll talk about it on the next slide, to upgrade to different materials. That gives us a little flexibility. But one of the things that we really pride ourselves at Stern-Williams, customization. We can take just about anything you want out of that base kind of product offering, and we can add up to 3 different little offerings. If you want a little hose bib on the back of it, you want a pet drinking fountain on the bottom of it, you want a foot wash station on the end of it, we can do all these things. That's really where we pride ourselves, is the customization really has no end to what we can offer on our drinking fountains and our shower towers. And then our products themselves, we pride ourselves in meeting the standards of what the industry is calling for. Flow rates are going to be just as comparable as anybody else that's out there. We do offer frost-proof models. We know many of you are probably in the certain climates that you're going to get into freezing conditions, and that's a factor. I will tell you, probably 80%, 90% of what we sell is not a frost-proof. It does require servicing, but the options are there. And I think a lot of it is kind of probably more entailed to what's required to install one. Once you get into certain things, you got to go so far into the ground. So many maintenance, parks and recs and, service and maintenance guys, they'd rather just say, no, let's just mount it on the thing that we normally would, and then we'll just go around, and we know it's part of our punch list in the fall. We go around, we shut the water off, we disconnect the drawing line, and everything flows out. We're protected for the winter, and then come spring, we go back and we just reconnect everything. But the options are there for frostproof. All of our push buttons are code compliant. And then going back into material offerings, I mean, we can do just about anything you can imagine. The carbon steel is probably our base model. You can upgrade to a stainless steel. This is great for coastal regions. So if you are anywhere on the coast and you have that salt air, you may want to look at that additional option. There is a little bit of an upcharge on that stainless steel changeover, as we all would probably know, moving over from steel to stainless steel, but you're protected. Now, I will tell you, all these products are powder coated, and they give that layer of protection. But the issue that we see typically that happens over time is damage. If somebody were to hit one, nick one, and that powder coating kind of chips and you expose that carbon steel, that is the piece that starts to eventually start to rust. And that's the piece that we're thinking about, is the longevity side. If you're on a coastal region, maybe consider this. But we can also go into aggregate. We get into a little bit more of that terrazzo side of it, where, again, Stern-Williams very well known for our terrazzo mop sinks and shower floors. We can build our drinking fountains out of terrazzo and an aggregate, and it gives you that rustic kind of look. These are this one here with the stone and the pebble. This is the stuff I remember growing up with. These are the ones that I remember drinking out of at the local parks and stuff like that. Still offered today by Stern-Williams. And then color options, going back into that powder coating, we can powder coat just about any color you can imagine. Now, we have 11 base colors. You can kind of see them spread across the bottom here. Our standards are green for our drinking fountains, and we do blue for our shower towers. But honestly, you can choose just about any color that you want. We don't charge any more for the color change, but essentially anytime you change a color, it does become more of a kind of a custom, and then it's non-cancelable, non-returnable at that point, just so we don't end up with inventory that will probably, nobody will probably ever use a bright fire engine red, drinking fountain. So it's one of those things that we give that flexibility. You can choose the color for whatever your end user and your particular project is looking for. Now that leads us into the newer offering by Stern-Williams. So one of the things that we were looking at is, our products are great during the daytime. Well, what about dusk? What about dawn, when it's not exactly, or even just nighttime in general? You kind of lose sight. When we were kind of looking at this and we're doing a little research, I mean, there's a lot of times you don't even know the product's there. You don't even know it's accessible to you. And that could be on a walking trail. It could be at a dog park. It can be at a ball field or a ballpark. It can be at a resort. It can be at a university or a college. These are things that we started really kind of looking at. We're looking at it in the industry as a whole. Nobody offers this. And so we wanted to bring a little light to the product itself. And there's several different things that make this kind of a nice feature. Is there's a little bit of a safety piece, right? So you're illuminating an area. I'm thinking about like on a campus or something like that. If you have students walking around at nighttime, if you have a nice well lit up area, and this product is throwing out probably a good 10-foot radius of light, and really kind of gives a nice bright area. They can easily see the product. They can see what's there. Our product comes with light sensors. So nobody needs to go flipping lights on or anything like that. There's a sensor that'll actually activate at dusk, and it shuts off at dawn automatically. Throughout the day, the solar light at the top is actually charging up the battery, which is included with it. The battery life is going to last anywhere from 5 to 10 years from our research that we've done. And the beautiful thing is you don't need to run any electrical to this. Everything is accomplished through the solar and the charging through the solar panel itself. So no additional electricity is needed to run to this particular product. The one that you see here, this is utilized at a park up in Minnesota. We installed one at a local kids park here in Grandview, kind of in the Kansas City metro area. And we got a couple different operations. And to us, it was just something new, something unique that nobody else offers today. And you can actually get this Dash 100 and you can add it on to just about any of our products. So if you're looking for a bottle filler, you're looking for a drinking fountain, you're looking for a shower tower, whatever you're looking for your particular application, we give the ability to customize and adapt to any of our products. And we want to make sure that we're giving you all the things that you need and your end users are looking for. Now let's pivot over to our newer product offering, going into the mop sinks. So this is the mop basin side of the business. This is where we predominantly have a terrazzo offering. Well, terrazzo has its pros and its cons. And one of the things that we wanted to lean in on is, can we offer different material? And that led us to a stainless steel mop sink offering. So this gives us a whole different depth of different opportunities now when we can change the material of our mop basins. So the SS 2424 is a obviously 24-inch by 24-inch mop basin made out of 100% stainless steel. So this one is a solid win for us. And let's talk about why. So, looking at some of the advantages that come from stainless, first off, it's lighter. And this was the big one that we really were looking for. Of course, there's a different advantages to stainless, and we'll hit on a couple of them here. But, some of the pains and the constraints on the labor side is it's expensive to ship terrazzo. It's not exactly a light material. Our lightest terrazzo mop basin, which is an MTB 2424, that particular product weighs 238 pounds. It's your smallest mop basin that we offer on the terrazzo side. And that means it's going to take more than one person to transport it. Cost typically means I can't ship it UPS, standard carriers. It's got to go freight. So it's an LTL service. It's on a pallet. So cost to ship is more expensive. So we wanted to make it lighter. That was the key piece of what we were trying to accomplish with this, is making it lighter. So again, it allows for a single person install. It's quicker install because we don't have multiple people and we're not having to finagle it and get it set just right. The looks better piece I could go back and forth on. I don't think our terrazzo doesn't look great. I think that this gives a little bit more of a neutral, more contemporary kind of look. And again, depending on your job, depending on your end user's specific needs, that may play a factor of the aesthetics of what they're looking for. The stainless steel is a little bit more modern. It gives that kind of a metallic kind of look. And depending on what you're looking at, if it's a restaurant, it's a lab, it's medical. There's a couple different applications that allow us to make it look good and service what it needs to be used for. Stainless steel doesn't have any of the porous stuff that you get with a concrete terrazzo base. That concrete terrazzo, as we all know, has got micro pores, many of them not probably noticeable but those are there, and that can lead to, depending on what you're utilizing it for, there can be a little bacterial growth depending on what you're pouring into the mop basin. If you're not sealing it properly, you're not taking care of your terrazzo properly, it can lead to additional things. With the stainless steel, we're pretty much taken care of with that particular material. And again, I talked about you're sealing the terrazzo, so we're getting rid of that step. There is no sealant, so there is no maintenance on the stainless steel sides. It gives a little bit additional flexibility when it comes to that. And I find it kind of interesting if you look at the right side of the screen here, for the terrazzo maintenance and sealers, with maintenance, you gotta clean it. There's a sealant that needs to be applied. Do we make sure that we don't have this? And if you look at it, it's kind of funny. Some of this says don't use anything with high alkalis or acids. Well, you look at the line there on your alkaline. Oh, drain cleaner. Well, I would have thought drain cleaner would have been perfectly fine to pour down there. And bleach. I use bleach to clean stuff in a janitorial closet, right? So really, not a highly good thing that you should be pouring over terrazzo. Now, if you have it sealed and everything, you're typically good. Now, depending on when the last application of sealants is, that's your barrier that gives you a little protection against those drain cleaners and those bleach. But once that sealer wears down, if your maintenance people are not keeping up with that regular maintenance, we start to run into a little bit of issue because you're pouring that drain cleaner, you're pouring that bleach, you're pouring that ammonia down there, depending on whatever it's being utilized for. Again, all that goes away with stainless steel. So what the product kind of looks like as a finished product, one of the things that we really wanted to pay attention to when we were looking at the competition, and there's other competitors out there that offer stainless steel. Some of the things that we looked at was it didn't give us a whole lot of depth in the bowl, which kind of prevents some of the stuff that the janitors or the cleaning teams are wanting to utilize it for. The other thing was it was kind of like a drum, right? So it was like a hollow base, and you pour things in, and it was just kind of loud. And we were like, "What? How do we address that?" And our engineering team said, "Well, we can actually just take a spray foam." And we foam spray the inside of it, and it gives that deadening sound. So it sounds like it's a solid piece now whenever you're utilizing that. If you're dumping your mop bucket in there or whatever, you wouldn't even know that it's got a hollow wall with those spray foam sides now. It provides that extra additional layer of sound deadening. Now the mop sink itself, and I think the next screen shows a better picture of this. We actually have a 2-piece kit that gets put together here. The mop sink itself, the piece that sits inside here, is actually one solid unit. And we wanted to make it as such because we didn't want any seams. We didn't want anything that could prevent any bacterial growth. So it's all one solid unit. And the sink itself is made out of a 20-gauge stainless steel material. Now the skirt itself, the outside level that you can see here, well, we figured this is probably the piece that's probably going to take the beating the most, because that's where, mop buckets slam into it. Somebody kicks it with their boot, or whatever. So we made that one out of an 18 gauge. We wanted that one to be a little bit more robust. And then we have a brass drain assembly that comes with it, which includes a stainless steel strainer and a gasket. Now we also include a mounting bracket, and we do touch base on that here in a little bit as well, talking about the mounting that we'll lean in on here in a little bit. And then of course we put it all in one box. Again, simplicity, putting it all together for the end user. So this is just kind of shows you a little bit more of how that all comes together. From the previous slide, you're taking that one giant unit of our sink, we drop it and we seal it into our skirt. We flip that over, we use our deadening foam, and then we have our brass drain assembly where it comes with all the components you're going to utilize. We give you a compression nut, we give you a gasket included for our 2-inch drain, and then you get your nice finished product. A couple, features. I know we hit on a couple of these already, but this does comply with the ASME A112. And as well as the CSA B45. Again, it's a stainless steel plumbing fixture. And it consists of the surface exam, and then it's also going to be on the NSF-2 for great for if you're utilizing it for food or processing, anything along those lines. We talked about the lightweight, we talked about the gauge, we talked about the seamless bowl, and again, it does come with a 2-inch drain location, and then it comes with the 2-inch brass drain compression. Again, things that the others are missing. So it's a sound deadening installation on all enclosed sides, narrow walls for maximum volume capacity. What we saw with some of our competitors, you can see our wall thickness here is only 1 inch and 1/16. So let's go ahead and round down. We're going to say 1 inch. All right, so we're right around 1 inch for our thickness on all of our walls. Well, we're looking at some of our competitors, and these can be up to 3 or 4 inches on each side. So we're losing our volume that is able to be inside. Then we have an 11-inch bowl depth. Well, we saw some of them, they barely hit 6 inches. So again, we lose the capabilities of what we're able to utilize this for. And then one of the other things that we really liked is we wanted to make sure our walls were thin enough that allows for the janitorial team or the cleaning team, they can actually take their mop wringer and they can hang it right on the lip of the wall. So they are able to use their, obviously if they got a mop sink faucet that's right above there, they can actually put this right up against there and they can spray directly down into the mop basin and get everything rinsed out of their mop, and they can wring the mop right out straight into the mop basin itself. Many of our competitors do not offer that because these wall thicknesses are going to get up to probably the 3-inch realm, which you're not able to then get that mop wringer onto the edge. And then on the installation side, this kind of just talks about it, but we provide you with a Z bracket that mounts directly onto the wall. You can see that the Z bracket is going to engage into the back lip. So this is the reason that we have a 3-sided skirt, is because that 3-sided skirt allows you to put it onto a single wall, or if you're obviously putting it into a corner, whatever your job calls for, whatever your application calls for, you're able to at least get it mounted onto the wall. And then that back side is exposed because we want you to mount this cleanly up against the wall itself. In your Z bracket that comes included, of course, we have installation instructions with everything. It tells you you're going to mount it so far up, you're going to hit your spots, and then it drops straight down onto that, and it immediately engages and it matches up to your hole down below. One of the things that we do want to make sure we highlight, again, it's in the installation instructions, that your piping is going to protrude above the floor. As you can see here, this is the floor base here. This is different than some terrazzos and stuff that you see out there where the actual drain assembly body is actually below the mop basin itself. So you're actually putting that into a bed of mortar and you're getting that to sit down into the pipe. This one, the pipe is actually going to protrude a little bit up, and it's going to go about 2 inches up, where this allows it to meet into the drain assembly here, which is a slight difference. But again, our installation instructions do call this out and allows for a nice clean install. Now, stainless steel leads us into a new offering that we also got into, is a utility shelf. So many of you probably already are putting in your mop basins, and then you're throwing in the accessories that go with that. You're throwing in the faucets. You're throwing in maybe a mop hanger, which is like our T40 here. Maybe you have a T35, which is a hose bracketing system that allows you to have a hose bracket that connects to your faucet, and you're connecting that to a similar grip here. Well, we were looking at some applications, and what we saw is a failure for a clean space around the mop basin. You got your buckets of bleach and your buckets of cleaning materials, and all of it is just built right around the mop basin, and it becomes kind of a tight constraint. And we wanted to look at this and we said, how can we add a little additional value here? And we designed something that is very similar to our T40, but we wanted to apply a shelf that allowed the end user to mount this directly to some 2x4s, and then it gives you the structural support so you can start putting those cleaning bottles and that equipment up top. So you can see here on the next page that we are going to have a couple different holes that come up through the top. This allows you to still have your mop hanger. So this is kind of a substitution for the T40. We actually use that T40 and we mount it into this apparatus that we're folding and preforming at Stern-Williams. And you're able to then take your mop hanger or your mop itself, and you can still stick it straight up through there, and you can hang it directly over your mop basin, and then the mop handle will protrude through the shelf itself, allowing it to still be utilized for the same applications that we were using. It just gives additional utility purposes for this particular application. We also threw a little rod in here. There's a stainless steel rod that allows some hooks, so you can hang some towels or anything like that on there. Again, just additional things that we were thinking about that wanted to simplify how it's being utilized in the field today and provide additional value to the end user. Again, resources available through our websites. You can kind of see it's utilized here. This is how we would mainly see this probably in a end user project, is it would be right directly over the mop basin itself. You have your faucet, and then your mops would hang directly over this, allowing them to drip down into the mop basin right over the back panels, and it gives that flexibility. But we wanted to clean up this space around the mop basin. This was the piece that we were focused on, is there was no reason we should have chemicals sitting on the floor. In our particular application, when we look at it here, we have a hot water heater right in our janitorial closet. Well, the cleaning team puts stuff right on top of the water heater. That's a big no-no, guys. Don't put it there. There's no shelf. So we wanted to, again, give that additional resource. So that's talking about 3 different things from Stern-Williams. I'm going to have to blow through this pretty quickly so we can stay within our time constraint. Any questions pertaining to these products?
Not a question per se, but one thing I'll highlight, and I guess maybe a question for myself. With that new with the new stainless steel mop sink, one of the aspects I love about the Stern-Williams mop sinks is that when there's a custom request, those terrazzo mop sinks, Stern-Williams has been great at getting those requests ready with, you need to move your drain location, this, that, and the other. Is that available from the stainless steel line as well, or is that going to be just within the terrazzo?
Yeah, unfortunately with the stainless steel, we're going to probably be a little bit more limited of any kind of customization, but you're absolutely right. We talked about Stern customizing drinking fountains and shower towers. Terrazzo is really where we can get crazy with the customization, drain location, sizes. You want a back outlet, or that's where we really shine, is we're able to provide those customizations on the terrazzo. But you are right, Zach. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to probably get too customized on the stainless steel side.
And that's fine. You guys have helped me out of more than one jam with the back outlet and with the different drain locations. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Good. Due to time constraints, we're going to blow through these next ones kind of quickly. We get into the prior side. One of the newer products that we launched about a year ago is a sanitary yard and roof hydrant. Now, what is that exactly? Well, a roof hydrant, you're going to have that up top on top of a commercial building. Typically, we lean into why, but our RH4 is going to be mounted up top. One of the beauties about the sanitary side is there's no drain line. We don't need to worry about running that drain port off to somewhere that could be 50 yards away. It could be 150 yards away. It could be further, because you want to run that off to a condensate line somewhere so the valve can drain properly. This is a frost-proof design, and it changes that application where there is actually a sealed unit. We'll get into why it looks like that, and no winterization. And then the 360 side, we close up that weep hole. So on a drain or a frost-proof yard hydrant, when you close it down and you shut it off, there's typically a drain port at the bottom and a gravel pit that allows the water to vacate the system. So now you have a hollow product that can't freeze. That's the point of the frost-proof. Well, you have an open hole in the bottom of a hydrant. Well, what if you have a high water table? Water can get right into that same hole that is used for draining. So if you're utilizing this for certain applications, you may not want to be drinking or cooking or using that water because you don't know what's inside. So this solves that problem. And where we're going to see it again, you're going to see it on commercial buildings for the roof side. You know, if you're utilizing it to clean off condensers, AC units, solar panels, you got rooftop gardens or green spaces, great opportunity for that. You know, on the sanitary yard hydrant side, campgrounds, national parks, things where people are hooking these things up to drink from it, to cook from it, to bathe and clean in it. That's where we want to be paying attention and not having that exposed water outlet there. So a couple different options there. Now, the features and benefits, again, we're getting into the sanitary. So we're getting rid of that application to letting things in. There's no winterization on these products. Some of the competitors that are out there, they require you to do certain things before you hit a freeze, otherwise it can still freeze. Ours solves that, no issues. We got several different functionalities, heavy duty product offering. Again, I'm sorry, I'm going to go through these pretty quickly so we can stay within our time constraints. Your specifications, we're hitting 10 gallons per minute at a 25 PSI differential. We can hit 140-degree max temperatures with 100 PSI max. You know, code approvals. What we've started to see is a little bit of a shift on certain code approvals for these particular jobs. Now, most of it not on the roof as much, but going back to those campgrounds, those RV parks, those national parks, they want clean, lead-free water. And that's where code 1057 for ASSC has come about. That is a specific code that is asking for a sanitary with backflow lead-free application, and our products are going to meet that. They are NSF 372, and of course we're building them here in Kansas City so we can hit any Buy America Acts. Now, how it's slightly different than some of our competitors is going back to, you don't need to winterize it. So our competitors use what's called a Venturi system. It's a siphonage system that allows a reservoir that sits below the frost line or into the heated space, and that reservoir holds your water. So the water drains down and sits in that reservoir. Well, with the Venturi system, it's a siphonage system, so it's sucking the water out as new water flows through. So when you turn it on, it actually uses that water pressure going through, and it pulls water from the reservoir. Well, that can take anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute, depending on, you know, how deep or the particular competitor. And if you're just turning it on to fill a bucket and you're turning it off again, well, guess what? You didn't drain the reservoir completely, and now your water's trying to vacate, and the reservoir's still kind of full of water, so your other water now is sitting up top, meaning it's exposed to freezing conditions. We took care of that with removing the Venturi side, and we do a piston water displacement. So our reservoir sits here. So this little piece here is the water inlet piece, and then the reservoir sits right here, which is this section right here. And this piston is what you're seeing right here. The water sits in here, and with our design, when you lift the handle, it drives this piston down, and that water displacement immediately comes out. In fact, the water in the reservoir will be displaced before the fresh water even comes in. So essentially, as you're stroking that first initial handle lift, the water is displaced, and then there's a little bit of a pause as you continue to lift. You'll see then the fresh water comes out after that. What we've noticed is our reservoir drains and is completely vacated in less than a second or two with our piston displacement. This goes into just the installation side. Our mounting brackets are a little different. I'm not going to linger on this, unfortunately, due to time constraints. And then leading into the installation of our berry as well. You know, we get it down below the frost line. You still have the same application. There's a reservoir with a piston water displacement unit. You just get this unit down below the frost line, and they're available in different sizes. And of course, per the code, everything needs to be serviceable from the exterior part of the product itself. All of our components are all serviceable from the service cap that sits on top here. That service cap is above the ground, or above the roof line. You would actually disconnect that, and the whole inner works come right up through the top to allow you to service that without getting into the inside part of the building. The last product I'll talk about is a newer product that we just launched for a narrow wall application. So our P623 and our P628, the only difference is one's cold only, one's hot and cold. These are designed to provide a water service to a narrow wall. So if you're looking at a 2x4 wall, a lot of times that space constraint means that you can't put a standard valve in, especially if you're trying to recess it into a box. If you're putting it into a box to have a nice clean front finish, then most of the time you're going to protrude through a 3.5-inch cavity, meaning that you can't fit it into that 2x4 wall. And these are going to be utilized in so many different applications. You got garages, schools, hospitals, restaurants. We wanted to solve that by utilizing a narrow wall design that allows this to fit within a 3-inch capacity. So as you can see here on the dimensions for these particular products, from the back of the door itself to where the back part of the connection inlet is, we are 3 inches. This allows us to get inside of a 2x4 wall for an interior application. A couple things that you'll notice on ours, I'm jumping back up a little bit, is we do offer a code compliance. So these are ASSE 1052. They're also lead free. So these are NSF 372. We do have the UPC and the CUPC listing on them. Another nice feature that we've added with these, they include an integral stop. So let's say 20 years down the line, these need to be serviced. We got to get in there and we got to swap out a bib washer. We got to change out a vacuum breaker, whatever that may look like. Well, instead of shutting the entire building down and turning the water off to the entire building, we can actually turn the water off just to the valve itself right here with this integral stop. You shut that off. Now I can take the stem assembly out. I can take this apart. I can take my time trying to get my replacement parts from my wholesaler. I'm not in a big rush, and the water for the rest of the building can continue. We are not limited, and we're not having to rush to find the replacement parts. And then if the door installation as well as the valve give you a little flexibility into what we can do. The valve itself, you can change the orientation in any different way as well as the door. So if you look at the door actually can be mounted any different direction. Again, this is an end user and a plumber preference. Whatever they find value in, they can adjust this however they do. So we gave them that flexibility with our narrow wall P623 and 628. Again, information is available through our website. Again, ATS is going to have a lot of these tools available for many of you as well. But all this is going to be found on all of our websites as well. Any questions pertaining to what we covered on, unfortunately, Stern and Pryor and Fiat?
Nothing coming in so far. I do appreciate you running through as fast as you could there.
Yeah,
we
I
got
apologize.
pretty close to bang on time.
Yeah.
We got pretty close. We appreciate everyone that's stuck around with us so far. I'm going to take 2 more minutes. You mentioned that you're rushing through. Wait till you see how fast you can rush through a SpecTool presentation. We were talking about how they don't have to rush and get through the service. Well, I'm going to rush right through this SpecTool. So the entire point of ATS and the reason that manufacturers partner with us, the reason that engineers use the tool is that we are trying to deliver this information as fast as possible. My camera's kind of hiding it up here, but you can see that you got the sign up and login buttons. Once you sign in, everything, just like any other website, you'll be able to remember your passwords and all that jazz. I'm going to pass over this for now, but on the Architects and Engineers tab, we have access to our templates and our Learning Hub, where you can get previous webinar recordings, similar topics to what we did today, our ATS knowledge bases, where you'll find some code information, white papers on certain product types, why electronics trap seal primers save you money compared to regular trap seal primers, thrilling stuff, but the code stuff is honestly really important. I think it's one of the best guides out there. So feel free to jump in, download, and view. Once you're logged in, your account is going to be within your firm. You can share projects back and forth within your firm. You can share it across the firm. If I'm working on a project with Angelo, I can add him to my project file and we can work and collaborate together on the same project file, adding our configured selections into that bucket. 3 different types of buckets you can get with ATS. We have a project spec where you have your application selected, your details like location. That's going to help you determine the barrier-free codes that's applied to your project. Quick spec is the fastest way that you can get a product selected on the tool. There's no rules based added to it. There's no location added to it. There's no barrier-free added to it. This is where you know exactly what you're looking for. Configure, select, download, done. Master is where probably me and my team have worked with you to ensure that these are the approved products that you and your firm use regularly. These, you can have as many as you want. So if you have a particular condo that likes a more squared off valve design on your showers and your faucets, you can select that. If you have another different condo owner group that prefers a more rounded design, you can have that. And the great part of this is that, you know, I will work with your principals, your team leads, your application leads to ensure that you have an accurate master selected. Then your EITs, those learning on new projects, they can select from the approved and configured masters on the system. These are live and updated. So if Angelo and the team decided to update, you do a big SKU update, all of a sudden your terrazzo is black in color with white marble chips instead of white with black marble chips. That'll be, as soon as they update us, we will update the data. The data updates in your project. As long as that project is live, the data updates in your master. I reach out to you, we notify you, hey, this has been updated. There's a new version of this master that you should download. But if tomorrow your team is using that master, it'll be from the updated version. You keep your specs compliant, accurate by using the SpecTool. The easiest way to do that is, you know, I've got a dog wash webinar already put in here. I was going to show you how you can go to the plus button, create new drawing, filter through all the different categories that we have on here, but that can be a little overwhelming. So you just want to search for sink. We could do that, but I'm going to jump back to the project and show you from this plus button. We can go to masters and templates, which is what I was just talking about, the wonderful masters. You can have your masters, ATS templates, which is basically just our ATS masters. It's our recommendations, and you can filter these down to show the applications that match your project type. So I've selected this dog wash webinar as a residential condo. This is showing me the residential condos that match. For a single, I can expand this. You can see we've got our 24 by 24. We provided this with an extra sediment interceptor, an extra backflow preventer, so that you can simply drag and drop. Let's go down to our 3624. We'll drag and drop this one over, and it's going to put it into our project. I could select both and drag and drop both over. I can put them in different orders. I could go through, if I need a water heater to go with this, because this is a retrofit, we're just adding this in. Maybe they need an extra soap dispenser on the side, but we've got that handy dandy hose that has soap in it, so we don't need it. We'll select a shower unit. Maybe they need a shelf. Maybe they need a grab bar. Maybe you need a bench. Whatever it is, you can multi-select and copy these over. We'll put them at the top this time. And you could do the same thing with even more detail all the way through. These masters, these templates can get quite large. If you do an entire condo, you might need this dog wash for the podium in the shower area. You might have a locker and bike area that you need. You can see all the different applications that are built into these different product groups. And we can grab these, whatever product group we want, from all of our drainage to all of your change rooms, good, better, best suites with different levels of product, different looks, different aesthetics. Of course, once you're done, let me move my face again, you can edit and revise these as needed. You don't need this interceptor, great, delete it. Just hit delete, it'll update the project file, and we'll move along. You could also go through, hit the edit button, and maybe we want to go from the 3624 down to the different option. Maybe we want to select the no valve or the no hand shower, whatever it is you need, you can do so. We'll hit complete, we'll go back to this page, and we'll check a box and say, yes, this is what I want to download. You can see my download button's gone live here. I could download the entire product group. If you have multiple product groups, you can download all the different product groups at once as well. Let's just do a single fixture because it'll download slightly faster. Our average download time has been under a minute for most applications. Obviously, if you have 50 different products in a page, then it might pop up and take a little bit longer. I've checked a bunch of boxes here. These are just the formats that we have. We have a PDF submittal sheet. We have a schedule in Excel. 3 different versions of long spec. We have kind of our format. We have the CSI master spec format, manufacturer spec sheets, Revit pages. We're coming up with a new schedule format. We're coming up with a new submittal format. Tons of different options. You can include list pricing, not include our formatting, not include capitalizations or not. It's going to download all the different packages, everything that we have on the site, and let you know that when it's complete, you can download as a zip file. So I'll pop this one open for now. You see it's already finishing up as I even popped it open. You know, we've got our logo in here. You can add your firm's logo to this. Again, the difference is you are getting the configured model number. You are getting the updated model number all the way through, verbiage that matches. So your dimensions are going to be specific to this, not the generic manufacturer spec sheet. That's really the difference of the ATS side. Let's pop it up a 3-part spec here as well. So if you're familiar with the master spec format, a number of engineers may pay for master spec. This is a format that matches that formatting. So it's a 3-part spec, product info, model name and number, and we're going to even allow you to edit anything that you want. So if you need to include alternates, anything like that will be built in. Obviously, just copy, paste, put this in to match the rest of your documentation. We've got, you know, the brochure formats, the schedules, the Revit files, everything that you need, all available for quick and easy download. And of course, if you need to spend more time configuring a product, then you can do so and you know, hit the plus button, configure in, add as much or as little as you want. That's the ultra quick version of ATS. If you'd like more info on either getting your master set up, if you would like a deep dive on the usage of the ATS system, reach out to myself and my team will get you set up with all those details. If you would like to set up this presentation specific for your firm, maybe you have questions that were unanswered today, please feel free to reach out to me. We'll get in touch with the team down there. We'll do a joint demo, either in person or virtual, whatever works best and easiest, and answer all your detailed questions that you may have. Of course, thank you very much for spending your time with us today. I recognize that we ran a little bit long and I do apologize, but hey, hopefully you got great info. Doesn't look like many people left, so I assume that must mean that they got a lot of great info. And thank you for the presentation today. That was fantastic, Angelo. I always love hearing from you. You do such a great job on these. So you got a little flair every time. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. And I appreciate the opportunity and appreciate everybody joining us today. You know, if there's anything we can do to assist, again, let us know if there's anything that's missing from the industry today, because that's where we want to shine. That's where we want to step up to the plate and solve whatever problems you're facing in the industry today.
Fantastic. For those that joined, we will have your certificates of attendance stand out as normal, so you can register for all of your professional development courses that you need. Thank you very much. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you, Zach. Have a great one.
You as well.